This morning, I stood before the mirror and paused. The woman looking back at me wasn't a stranger, yet she wasn't entirely me either. Her skin carried softness where once there was firmness. Her hair, streaked with silver, shimmered in the morning light. Her eyes, still bright, held a quiet story of years gone by. I reached up to touch a strand of gray and felt something stir deep inside. A mix. No one prepares us for this moment. The day we realize we are no longer the woman in old photographs. We don't remember exactly when it happened. Was it the morning we stopped wearing lipstick every day? The week we began using words like comfortable instead of beautiful? Or the first time someone called us ma'am, and we smiled politely while our heart cracked a little? I used to think aging was just about wrinkles and hormones, about creams and vitamins. But now I understand it's about identity. It's about seeing yourself fade into the background after decades of caring for others. It's about missing the woman who used to walk into a room and feel seen. As I stood there, I realized my reflection wasn't asking for youth. She was asking for recognition, for permission to still feel radiant, visible, and alive. The silver hair wasn't a flaw, it was a signature, proof of laughter, tears, late nights, and beginnings that came after endings. And maybe, just maybe, this moment before the mirror isn't the end of beauty. It's the beginning of seeing it differently. Because age doesn't steal our light, it simply asks us to shine in new ways. Time and texture, the story our hair tells. When I turned 52, I began noticing how my hair changed its language. It used to fall with weight and shine, the kind of hair that caught sunlight and attention in the same breath. Now it feels lighter, thinner, as if time had gently loosened its grip on every strand. My morning brush no longer glides the way it used to. It pauses, tangles, sighs. Sometimes I think my hair has started to whisper back to me. For years, I blamed the shampoo, the weather, the hormones. But one quiet evening, as I sat by the window and felt a strand slip between my fingers, I realized something. My hair wasn't betraying me, it was evolving with me. It was telling the story of my becoming. No one tells you how emotional these small transformations can be. The first time you see more scalp than you used to, or when silver begins to outnumber brown, it's not vanity that hurts. It's the unfamiliarity. The reflection doesn't match the woman you still feel like inside. You still laugh like you did at 30, dream like you did at 40, but your hair, it tells the world something different. And yet, there's a strange kind of beauty in that honesty. My hair has weathered love and loss, sun and sorrow. It has been tied up in messy buns while I raised my children, pinned neatly for interviews, tousled during nights of laughter. Each texture shift feels like a memory resurfacing. We live in a culture obsessed with anti-aging. They sell us serums and slogans, whispering that youth is the only currency of beauty. But what if beauty isn't something we preserve? What if it's something we translate? My hair isn't meant to look like it did 20 years ago. It's meant to tell the truth of who I am now. I remember meeting a client, Lorraine, in my design studio one afternoon. She was 61, elegant, soft-spoken, wearing her silver hair in a loose bun. She sat down and said, "I don't recognize myself anymore. I feel invisible." Her words pierced me because I had felt them too. I asked her to take down her hair. When she did, the strands cascaded like silk, silver, soft, alive. I told her, "You're not invisible, Lorraine. You're luminous, you just haven't seen yourself in this light yet." We cut her hair to shoulder length with gentle layers that framed her face. She looked into the mirror and cried, not because she missed her younger self, but because she finally saw this version of herself as beautiful. That moment reminded me, transformation isn't about turning back time, it's about reclaiming the present. Our hair after 50 changes in 3 quiet ways: texture, tone, and truth. Texture becomes softer, sometimes stubborn, sometimes fragile. But that softness can frame the face with tenderness if shaped with care. Tone shifts, grays, whites, and silvers play with light differently, creating a glow no bottle can mimic. And truth shows up in how we carry it. Whether we embrace it or hide it, our hair tells the world how we feel about ourselves. I began to treat my hair not as something to fix, but as something to listen to. I adjusted my cuts to honor the way it wanted to fall. I chose nourishing oils instead of harsh dyes. And slowly, I began to notice how freeing it felt to stop fighting nature. My reflection softened too, not because I looked younger, but because I looked kinder to myself. There's a sacred intimacy between a woman and her hair. We touch it every day, but rarely see it. We expect it to behave, to flatter us, to stay the same. But hair, like life, moves in seasons. There's the spring of vibrancy, the summer of boldness, the autumn of change, and the winter of grace. Each has its own beauty, its own music. Sometimes I miss the volume, the bounce, the effortless shine. But when I catch my silver strands glinting under sunlight, I feel something better than nostalgia. I feel pride. This hair has lived. It's been through every storm and still stands soft, shimmering, resilient. It doesn't need to shout to be beautiful. It has learned the quiet confidence of experience. If you're reading this and running your fingers through your hair, wondering when it lost its spark, I want you to pause, feel it. Don't just look for what's gone, notice what remains. There's wisdom in these strands, patience, tenderness, survival. Let your hair be what it wants to be. You've both earned the right to rest a little, to breathe, to glow differently. Our hair tells the world how we've lived, not how long. It's not aging, it's evolving, painting with new shades of silver and softness. And when we begin to see it that way, something inside us shifts too. Because maybe this isn't about fighting time at all. Maybe it's about befriending it, learning to see that beauty doesn't fade. It transforms just as we do. And as I learn to listen to my hair's new rhythm, to its quiet honesty, I began to understand something deeper. That beauty after 50 isn't a style you copy. It's a philosophy you live. And that is where the real transformation begins. The philosophy of age-proof beauty. They call it anti-aging. I call it anti-living. Because somewhere between resisting time and hiding from mirrors, we forget that beauty was never meant to be a battle. I used to think beauty was something you protected, like a fragile glass vase you keep high on a shelf, afraid it might crack if you touch it too often. But over time, I've realized beauty isn't something you preserve. It's something you practice. When I was younger, I defined beauty by what the world could see. The smoothness of my skin, the shape of my waist, the shine of my hair. I chased approval like oxygen. Compliments were tiny validations that I still mattered, that I was still visible. But as the years rolled by, something inside me shifted. Compliments became fewer, glances shorter, and I started wondering, did I stop being beautiful, or did the world just stop looking? That's when I understood. Beauty after 50 isn't about being seen, it's about seeing yourself. One afternoon, I sat with my friend Teresa. She's 58 and one of the most graceful women I know. She told me, "You know what's funny? I spent my 20s wanting to be noticed, my 30s wanting to be taken seriously, my 40s trying to balance it all. Now, in my 50s, I just want to feel comfortable in my own skin." She laughed softly. It took me half a century to realize comfort can be beautiful too. Her words stayed with me, because that's exactly what age-proof beauty is. Not about defying time, but about redefining comfort. It's about aligning how we look with how we feel. When I design clothes for women my age, I always ask them the same question. How do you want to feel when you walk into a room? Not what size they wear, not what trend they love, but what emotion they want to carry. Some say powerful, others say free. A few whisper visible. That word visible breaks my heart a little every time, because we live in a world that equates youth with value. Once the wrinkles arrive and the hair silvers, society gently nudges women into the background. But the truth is, visibility isn't something anyone can take from you. It's something you reclaim. Age-proof beauty, to me, is the courage to keep showing up in color, in confidence, in kindness. It's the softness of a face that has known both laughter and loss. It's the spark in the eyes of a woman who knows exactly who she is, and finally, no longer apologizes for it. I remember a client named Elaine, 63, who came to my studio one spring. She was elegant but hesitant, as if afraid her age might enter the room before she did. "I don't know what suits me anymore," she said quietly. "Everything feels too young or too old." We sat together, sipping tea, and I asked about her life, not her clothes. As she spoke, her face came alive. Stories about her garden, her travels, her grandkids. There it was, that spark. When she smiled, her whole posture changed. I told her, "That's your style, not the jacket or the haircut, the way you light up when you talk about what you love." She laughed, then said something I'll never forget. "So the secret isn't about looking younger, it's about looking more like myself." "Exactly," I said. "That's the philosophy. We don't chase youth, we chase truth." Beauty, at our age, is not a rebellion against time, it's a dialogue with it. It's standing in the middle of our years and saying, "I've lived, I've loved, I've changed, and it shows." The lines on our faces are not flaws, they are the footprints of laughter. The softness of our skin is not decay, it's evidence of grace. Some days I still catch myself missing my younger reflection, the sharp jawline, the easy glow. But then I remind myself, that woman had her time. She danced through her seasons, and now it's mine to bloom differently. My beauty now isn't a memory, it's a translation. I've learned that age-proof beauty comes from 3 quiet truths. Grace, the art of accepting change with softness. To wear your years not as weight, but as wisdom. Authenticity. To stop apologizing for the space you take in conversation, in fashion, in life. Energy. Because true allure has nothing to do with age, it's the vibration of joy, the light that refuses to dim. When these 3 live in harmony, something magical happens. You stop performing beauty and start embodying it. You walk differently, you dress for yourself. You cut your hair not to look younger, but to feel lighter. And somehow people notice, not because you look 30, but because you look free. Freedom is the new youth. I often tell my clients, style is not what you wear, it's how you carry your years. Because beauty that depends on youth will always fade. But beauty that grows from character, compassion, and curiosity, that kind of beauty only deepens. When you live from that place, your reflection becomes your ally again. You no longer flinch at silver hair or smile lines. You start to see them as punctuation marks in your personal story, commas, not endings. So yes, the creams and cuts and colors have their place. But age-proof beauty isn't found in the salon. It's found in the moments you choose kindness over comparison, gratitude over guilt, joy over judgment. And maybe that's what real style has always been, the harmony between who we are on the inside and how we let the world see it. As I think about it, this philosophy is what inspires every design I create, every story I tell, every haircut I recommend. Because it's never just about fashion. It's about freedom. And freedom, my dear, looks good at any age. As I embraced that truth, that beauty isn't something to chase but something to express, I began to see hair differently too. Not as a sign of what's been lost, but as a canvas for everything still unfolding. And that's when I discovered the magic of certain cuts, timeless, confident, alive. 5 age-proof haircuts that defy time. The right haircut doesn't erase the years, it illuminates them. Because when a woman dares to wear her truth, even time stands still for a moment. Over the years, I've come to see haircuts not as trends, but as translations, visual stories of who we are becoming. There isn't one perfect style for women over 50. There are many, and each one whispers a different message of freedom, grace, and quiet rebellion. When clients come into my studio, they rarely just want a haircut. What they are really craving is a reconnection, to feel like themselves again. They sit in my chair and confess things they wouldn't say out loud anywhere else. I feel invisible. I don't know what suits me anymore. I used to love my hair, now I just tie it up and forget it. And then, as I begin to cut, I watch something beautiful happen. The more hair that falls to the floor, the lighter they seem to become, not just physically, but emotionally. Because sometimes, a haircut isn't about changing how you look. It's about releasing everything you've been carrying. Here are 5 haircuts I've seen transform not just appearances, but spirits. Each one tells its own timeless story. 1. The soft, layered bob, the freedom to begin again. Mary was 55 when she came to me, freshly divorced after 30 years of marriage. "I want to feel the wind on my neck again," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes shimmered with the kind of vulnerability that only comes from starting over. We chose a layered bob, soft, feminine, but strong in its simplicity. When the final strand fell, she ran her fingers through her hair and laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. "It's like shedding old weight," she whispered. That's the magic of a layered bob. It moves with you. It breathes. It says, "I'm here, and I'm ready for what's next." If you've been holding on to what used to be, this cut invites you to let go gently, beautifully, bravely. 2. The modern pixie, the courage to be seen. Denise, 60, had hair that used to fall below her shoulders. She told me she hadn't cut it short since her 20s, because short hair makes me look old. But as I looked at her delicate bone structure, piercing green eyes, a kind of elegance that doesn't need explaining, I said softly, "Or maybe it makes you look alive." When we cut it into a textured pixie, she gasped. "It's bold," she said, "but it feels like me." Her posture lifted, her jawline sharpened, her smile widened. That's what the modern pixie does. It's not about rebellion, it's about revelation. It brings out features you forgot you had, confidence you thought you'd lost. It's a whisper and a statement at the same time. The pixie says, "I no longer need my hair to hide behind. I am the statement now." 3. The shoulder-length shag, the spirit of play. The shag is for the woman who's tired of being tidy. It's for the woman who still dances when she's alone in the kitchen, who hums to old songs, who laughs easily, even when life has made her cry. When my client Julia turned 58, she told me, "I'm done pretending to be perfect. I just want to feel alive again." We gave her a shoulder-length shag with soft bangs, messy, textured, imperfectly beautiful. When she looked in the mirror, she tilted her head and smiled. "I look like me, but happier." That's what the shag does. It lets you breathe. It lets you move. It doesn't try to control you, it celebrates your energy. If your life has become too neat, too predictable, too careful, the shag will remind you how good it feels to be wild again. 4. The long silver flow, the grace of surrender. I used to dye my hair religiously. Every 4 weeks, I'd cover up the silver that peeked through like secrets I wasn't ready to tell. But one day, I met Joan, 70, radiant, unapologetic. Her hair was long, silver, and breathtaking. She told me, "I stopped coloring during lockdown. I thought it would make me look older, but it made me look real." Her words stayed with me. A few months later, I let my own roots grow out. The process was messy, uneven tones, awkward stages, but with each passing week, I felt lighter. When my hair finally turned fully silver, I realized it wasn't surrender. It was liberation. Long silver hair isn't about giving up. It's about letting go of control, of fear, of needing to be anyone but yourself. It's the crown of authenticity. And when light hits it just right, it glows not with youth, but with grace. 5. The classic blunt cut, the power of clarity. Sophia was 63, a retired architect with a sharp mind and sharper wit. "I'm tired of layers," she told me. "I want something clean, direct, no fuss." We went for a blunt cut, straight, sleek, and strong. When she saw herself in the mirror, she nodded. "That's me. No more hiding behind softness." The blunt cut is minimalism at its finest. It says, "I know who I am, and I don't need decoration to prove it." It's timeless, sophisticated, and unapologetically elegant. If your style has been feeling cluttered, this haircut restores clarity. It reminds you that simplicity, when chosen with intention, is the most powerful statement of all. Each of these cuts tells a story, not about resisting age, but about embracing evolution. They remind us that beauty isn't something we chase, it's something we reveal. There's no single formula for looking youthful. Youth isn't a look, it's a vibration, it's curiosity, it's laughter, it's movement. And the right haircut isn't a disguise, it's a mirror that reflects that spirit back to the world. Whenever I see a woman step out of my studio with her new haircut, there's a moment that always takes my breath away. The pause before she looks at herself, the inhale before she smiles. That's when transformation happens. Not in the snip of the scissors, but in the silence when she recognizes herself again. Age-proof beauty doesn't come from defying time. It comes from owning your time, every line, every silver, every story. And once you realize that, something shifts forever. Because a haircut may frame your face, but your confidence, that frames your life. As I watched these women walk out of my studio, heads high, hearts lighter, I realized something profound. The haircut was only half the story. The other half was how they wore it. The tilt of the chin, the gleam in their eyes, the new rhythm in their steps. That's when I understood style isn't just about the cut. It's about the way you carry it. Beyond the cut, the way you carry it. You can have the best haircut in the world, but if you wear it with doubt, it hides. Confidence isn't in the cut, it's in the way you carry your story. When I was younger, I thought transformation came from the outside. I'd change my hair, buy new clothes, lose a few pounds, and for a moment it worked. The reflection in the mirror smiled back a little brighter, but it never lasted because deep down I hadn't changed the way I saw myself. Now, at 58, I understand that beauty doesn't start in the salon chair. It starts the moment you decide to stand taller, to look at your reflection not with judgment but with gratitude. The way we carry ourselves, the tilt of our chin, the softness of our eyes, the curve of our smile, that's what people remember. A haircut may frame your face, but your energy frames your presence. The invisible posture. I'll never forget a woman named Carla. She was 62 and came in for what she called a rescue. Her words were half a joke, half a plea. Her hair hung flat and heavy, and so did her spirit. "I don't want to look younger," she said. "I just want to look awake." We gave her a feathered shoulder-length cut that opened up her face, but the real magic happened when I handed her the mirror. She tilted her head, hesitated, then straightened her back just a little. It was subtle but powerful. "Do you see that?" I said. She frowned. "What?" "You just found your posture again." That moment taught me something I'll never forget. Beauty lives in posture, not the posture of your spine, but of your soul. When a woman starts carrying herself as if she belongs in every room she enters, the world sees her differently. And more importantly, she sees herself differently. The light in the eyes. Some call it confidence, but I call it light. You can spot it from across the room, the glow that comes from a woman who has stopped apologizing for her existence. It's in the way she makes eye contact when she speaks, the way her laughter fills a space without permission. It's not loud or arrogant, it's alive. That light doesn't come from makeup or mirrors. It comes from presence, from knowing who you are, what you've lived, and what you're still capable of becoming. Every time I cut hair, I look for that moment when her eyes shift from self-doubt to self-recognition. It's like watching the sunrise on someone's face. You can style your hair 1,000 ways, but until your eyes shine with belief, no haircut can make you glow. The energy of movement. When I walk down the street, I notice something beautiful about women my age who carry themselves with ease. They move differently. There's a rhythm in their steps, not hurried, not hesitant, but grounded. Movement tells a story too. It says, I'm not rushing to be younger or hiding from being older. I'm just here fully, joyfully now. After I cut Elaine's hair into her sleek new bob, she did something unexpected. She stood up, shook her head lightly, and said, I feel like dancing. Then she actually did right there in the studio, twirling softly as her new layers caught the light. We laughed, but I could feel something sacred in that moment. That's what confidence looks like, not perfection, but freedom of movement. If you ever want to rediscover your confidence, don't start with your reflection. Start with your body. Stretch, walk, dance in your kitchen. Feel your energy before you see your image. The rest will follow. The voice of belonging. Somewhere along the way, women are taught to shrink, to take up less space, to speak more softly, to apologize for being visible. But age has a beautiful way of undoing that conditioning. One day, I was styling a client named Ruth, 66, who used to be a singer. She hadn't performed in years. Her voice, she said, had lost its sparkle. When we finished her soft silver waves, I asked her, half joking, to sing something. She hesitated, then began humming an old jazz tune. Her voice cracked a little at first, then grew steadier, warmer, richer. When she finished, I clapped. She laughed and said, Well, I guess my sparkle just needed a haircut. Her words were simple, but they hit deep. Sometimes confidence doesn't come from becoming someone new. It comes from giving yourself permission to be who you've always been, without the noise, without the fear. Your voice, whether spoken, sung, or simply expressed through the way you move, is your power. Use it. Let the world hear that you're still here. The clothing of emotion. Style, to me, has never just been fabric or fashion. It's energy you wear. Some days, that energy is bold red lipstick and a silk scarf. Other days, it's a loose sweater and quiet grace. What matters is how you feel inside your clothes, how your outfit aligns with your story that day. After all, beauty isn't about having a perfect wardrobe. It's about dressing for your emotions, not your age. I often tell my clients, wear your confidence the way you wear your favorite coat, comfortably, proudly, every day, even when no one's watching. Because real confidence doesn't need an audience. It just needs permission. Carrying time with grace. The truth is, time will keep moving with or without our approval. Our bodies will change, our faces will shift, our reflections will evolve. But grace is how we choose to move with it. When I think of the women who inspire me most, my mother, my clients, my friends, none of them are untouched by time. They've all been shaped by it. Their beauty isn't in defiance, it's in acceptance. They carry their years not as burdens, but as badges, subtle, shining reminders of everything they've survived and learned. And that, more than anything, is what makes a woman unforgettable. When you walk out into the world tomorrow, silver hair catching the light, laughter lines framing your face, remember this. You are not your haircut, you are not your wrinkles, you are not your age. You are the way you carry all of it, the way you walk, speak, and glow despite everything life has asked of you. Carry yourself as art, imperfect, evolving, eternal. As I reflect on these women, and on my own journey, I realize that confidence doesn't just appear one morning. It's cultivated like a ritual, a daily practice of grace, gratitude, and gentle self-celebration. And maybe, just maybe, that's the final secret to being age-proof, not in how we look, but in how we live. Let me share that ritual with you. The timeless confidence ritual. We spend years learning how to care for others, but when was the last time we truly cared for ourselves? Confidence isn't something we wake up with. It's something we cultivate. Every single day, there's a quiet power in ritual. Not the kind with candles or incense, but the kind that anchors you back to yourself. Here's what I call my timeless confidence ritual: 5 gentle practices that help me stay grounded, radiant, and unapologetically me, no matter what the mirror says. 1. The morning mirror moment. Before you pick up your phone, before the to-do list begins, pause. Stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes, and say something kind. It doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to be true. I'm still here. I've weathered storms and I'm still standing. I like who I'm becoming. You'll be surprised how powerfully your reflection responds to gentleness. This 1 minute can shift your entire day from self-criticism to self-recognition. 2. Dress with intention, not obligation. Forget dressing your age. Dress your energy. Ask yourself each morning, how do I want to feel today? Calm, playful, bold, soft. Then choose one piece that reflects that feeling: a scarf that makes you smile, earrings that remind you of your spark, or a color that lifts your spirit. When you dress from emotion, not expectation, your style becomes a love language to yourself. 3. Move with gratitude. Confidence lives in motion. You don't need the gym, you need to move with joy. Take a slow walk, stretch your shoulders, dance in the kitchen while your coffee brews. Movement tells your body, I'm alive and I'm thankful. At this stage in life, every step is proof of resilience. Let your body feel that truth, and your posture will start speaking confidence long before your words do. 4. Speak kindly, especially to yourself. The voice in your head becomes the soundtrack of your life. Would you speak to your best friend the way you speak to yourself? Start small. Replace I look tired with I've earned my rest. Change I'm getting old into I'm getting real. Words shape energy, and when your inner voice becomes kinder, your outer glow naturally follows. 5. Reconnect with joy every single day. Joy isn't something that happens to us. It's something we choose to notice. Make a ritual of seeking it. Call that friend who makes you laugh. Water your plants slowly. Try a new lipstick shade. Listen to that song you loved in your 30s and let it carry you back, not to who you were, but to who you still are. The more joy you invite, the less room there is for invisibility. These 5 rituals aren't about changing yourself, they're about returning to yourself. Because beauty at this age isn't loud. It's steady. It's the calm confidence of a woman who knows she's both the masterpiece and the work in progress. Every line, every strand of silver, every scar, they're not flaws, they're proof that you've lived deeply. And that, my dear, is what makes you magnetic. So tomorrow morning, when you catch your reflection, smile, because she's still evolving, still learning, still bold. If these words made you pause, if they reminded you that beauty has no expiration date, then you belong with us. Join me and thousands of incredible women redefining what it means to be radiant, stylish, and free at bold after 50, where we celebrate the art of aging beautifully together. Because confidence doesn't fade with time. It grows louder. And so should you. Right arrow subscribe to Bold After 50, and let's keep shining in every color, every season, every strand of silver.